Welcome back. This is a follow-up discussion about unethical journalism with the focus on the book by Gerda Potgieter, A Journey to the Truth, The Case of KwaSizabantu Mission. In the previous discussions, Gerda explained that the mission was unfairly targeted by the media. The ongoing media onslaught gave substance to a smear campaign driven by a group of people with a private agenda. She also explained that the media used untested information as a weapon to tarnish the image of the Christian mission and unfairly framed it as a cult where women and children are abused. Gerda compared in the book how News 24 reported on the allegations versus the Newsweek investigative magazine. She used comparative content analysis, exploring stylistic and contextual factors by looking at the presence of certain words and phrases and the themes of concepts. We will continue with our discussion about this topic. Gerda, it's great to have you back. Could you briefly describe to our viewers what ethical journalistic principles are?
Hi, Janet, and thank you. Time flies if you're having fun. I can't believe it's our second discussion about this. Yeah, you mentioned something that I just want to remark on before I go into your question, and that is the untested information that I want our viewers to understand. None of the allegations, none of the information which was published in mainstream media was tested. It's now 4 years later. Remember now it's April. It's April 2024. And the media onslaught started in 2019. And none of the so-called culprits were arrested. None of these allegations were proven as the truth. So that's very important. So to make ethical journalism understandable for our viewers, I will try and explain it as simple as I could. In the first place, sensationalized news. When you see sensation in a news report, you know it's a red flag. And how do they sensation? They use emotive words, emotional words such as, specifically in the case, and I'm just going to read a few of the headlines. There are tons of them. Stuff like mission of malice. What do you think if you hear that? Cult. What do you think when you hear that word? The mission station finds itself, and I'm reading here from the headlines, the mission station finds itself in the center of a storm of human rights abuses. I mean, there are so many emotive words in that one single sentence. Impropriety happened there. You know, virginity testing. You as a woman, what do you think? First, when they talk about virginity testing, forgetting that we're talking actually about the Zulu community, okay, and their cultures. Racism, what do you hear? What do you think in South Africa when you, and well, across the world nowadays, if you hear the word racism, and patriarchy? There was a specific sentence that I want to repeat as well. When you speak to people, that is what the News 24 editor said. When you speak to people that grew up there, white and black people, it very quickly becomes apparent that at the mission there was also apartheid. Now, when you use the word apartheid, especially in our country with our sad history, immediately you're negative to whoever they frame. No? Now, I went to KwaSizabantu about, I think, 12 times. It's the most integrated community that I've ever come across in South Africa. And you know, I've been all over the place.
Yes.
You know that I've worked 30 years for a municipality, blah, 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 all that history, you know. The services, for instance, are done in English and in Zulu, isiZulu. Because remember what I said in the first podcast, God's instruction, according to Reverend Ernest Deegan, was to spread the gospel among the Zulu community. So you have to put everything into context. That's very important.
Yes.
The overuse, I'm not saying don't use emotional words. I'm not saying don't use adjectives, but the overuse of these sort of emotional words immediately, especially in the headlines, because if it's in the headlines, it's down there as well, can tell you, be on the lookout for facts and for the other side of the story and so forth. Your next question. I'm ready for that.
No, I'm still digesting all the information around this and
Lots of
how
information.
and how people's lives can be destroyed, you know, by
The media,
by the media.
by
Yes.
other people in the media.
Okay,
Yes.
so going on, in the book, you also refer to the SA press code, because there needs to be a code by everyone, have to live by, act by, work by, all of that. Okay, and use its guidance when evaluating the lack of ethics in the news coverage of KwaZizabantu. How does the press code see ethical journalism?
Well, that's a good question because we are guided by the South African Press Code. And people can Google it themselves on their website. And I'm going to read it so I don't misquote anything. They're very clear, by the way, they're very clear about ethical journalism. And I will mention just a few guidelines and I will try to explain it and to make it more easier to digest. The media exists to serve the public. That's the most important thing. In this case, the media reports did not serve the public. Remember, we talked about the call for a boycott.
Yes.
So many people are dependent on KwaZizabantu for their livelihoods, etc., etc. They pay through the sales of their produce, including the water. They pay for their ministry work, for humanitarian work, for community outreaches, etc., etc. Can this be to their benefit? No. It was to the benefit of a small group, as Noseweek has exposed for us. News reporting should be objective. The first thing that caught my eye about the News 24 news reports was how personal it became, how the lack of objectivity was all over the place. That is a serious, serious red flag. You have to give both sides of the story, which I couldn't see in any of the news reports. You have to give equal news time to both sides of the story. You have to have people's side of the story. They call it right of reply, etc., etc. Another thing that the ethics code are very clear about: news reports should present only what may reasonably be true as a fact. Facts must be verified. You can't take a person's words. If you bring a story, you and I've been busy with devoted for such a long time. The first thing, when somebody brings me a story, I ask him, what is the benefit for you personally by bringing the story? I discovered people were offered R1 million for their stories. That in itself is a red flag, and we will talk about that later. I've got all the evidence and all the proofs already in the book.
Wow.
In addition, opinions. In news reports, your opinion doesn't count. Allegations remains allegations. You are innocent until proven guilty.
Yes.
For over 4 years, there's not one of the allegations on which KwaZizabantu was found to be guilty of. Rumors are not facts. All suppositions shall be presented clearly as such. That is what the SA Press Code said. The next one, they say, in ethical journalism, you must give the accused a fair chance to respond. The right to reply, it is called. A tick of the box exercise is not what they mention here. And I can tell you from my experience in a municipality, they will send you a list of about 300 questions on a Friday after 4 on the computer, and then they will tell you Monday, 8 o'clock, they want the answers. And they know municipal officers don't work over the weekends. That is a tick of the box exercise. I saw the questions which was posed to KwaZizabantu. It is something like, I'm just going to mention one or two. So-and-so alleged that so-and-so was abused 32 years ago. The so-called abuser is already dead or left the mission. How do you investigate in 3 or 4 days, those sort of things? There were tons of questions. They were so vague. There was no specific questions. That's only a tick of the box exercise. In ethical journalism, news reporters are committed to the highest standard. I'm reading it again. News reporters are committed to the highest standards to maintain credibility and keep the public's trust. They should report news trustworthy, accurately, and fairly. Fairly means both sides of the story. Accurately means the truth. News reporters should ensure the informants, this is very important, the informants are credible and the facts are verified. Now, my research and Noseweek's research and the independent panel found that the informants, they had access to grind with KwaSizabantu. They were disgruntled, they were embittered, they had their own skeletons in the closet. Those are all very serious red flags of journalism. You have to be clean to point a finger to the others, because remember that thing that we all grew up, I point a finger to you,
Yes.
but how many points back to me? That's exactly what I found. And one last thing, there are many others, but one important thing, news reports should present news in context and a balanced manner. In none of the News 24 and the other who copycatted them could I find a balanced report. What KwaSizabantu is doing, for instance, they have 2 youth conferences per year, between 5 and 10,000. And by the way, I'm on my way back to KwaSizabantu because I'm volunteering to the next youth conference in June, which will be the 50th. So I volunteer all over the world when there's a cause close to my heart, and youth conferences specifically. I'm very, very passionate about that. So I'm flying next week, and I've already been to 2 youth conferences. If you just take in mind 2 new youth conferences fully paid by KwaSizabantu, they are transported to and from where they're coming from. They are hosted for a week. They are fed 3 times a day. I eat that food. It's wonderful food, etc., etc. So just the youth conferences in itself, between 10 and 20,000 people that move through the gates on an annual basis. Not talking about the Sunday services in their 10,000-seater, and we will show our viewers a picture of the auditorium. It can take 10,000 people at a time. Many times it's fully booked. So you can think how many people walk through those gates in a year. Not everybody is going to be happy.
True.
Not everybody.
Yep. Yes, absolutely.
But false allegations is different from not being happy with something small.
Yeah, and if it's criminal.
So in a nutshell, there are many others, Janet, but we will explore them more fully as we go along. For instance, the truth thing, because I've sent you some of the videos already, how people are coming forward claiming that they've been paid as much as R1 million and a house overseas, blah, 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 for stories, and they started to fabricate stories. We talk about credible informants. 2 of the informants are serving prison sentences. I mean, those are serious red flags to a seasoned news reporter who wants to be ethical.
For me, it's just if there's a serious crime, you go and report it. You don't run to the media, but we will get to that point later.
That's the thing. That's the thing. 35 years later, now suddenly a father claimed that his daughter was abused. But when Noseweek asked him, how many women were abused at KwaSizabantu? I only know about one, Amanda, and we will talk about Amanda. I only know about one. And then she said, but you also claimed your daughter was abused. Oh, I forgot.
Oh, no.
I forgot.
Oh, no. No.
Those were all, for me, serious red flags. And they're all described in the book.
So, coming back to this father, did News 24 and the other mainstream media, who covered the KwaSizabantu story, did they mention that, or
no?
How did they report, about these truths that came out, and I mean, none of us are stupid. You can see when someone is lying, especially, the problem with a lie is you need to cover it with another lie and another lie and another lie. And then you must remember what you lied about. So that is quite a problem,
Absolutely.
you know, and
That's
I
why
think
it's
that
easy
is,
to tell the truth.
that's maybe what happened here. But do you think the mainstream media's coverage actually about KwaZizabantu was unethical?
Well, definitely so. And I'm going to give you one example, and we will zoom into it later on, and we will show our viewers
Mm.
information and videos that they can, judge for themselves. Some of the informants, they change their stories all the time, depending on whether they tell it to News 24, or to this one or that one, or to the CRL Commission or whatever. They change the stories. They even sort of differed from others. There were so many anomalies, so many different stories of the same event, and those are so obvious. If you read, if you zoom into the stuff which the public obviously don't do. I had 171 news reports to compare with each other.
Sure.
If you zoom into it on this side, you say, you know what? I have heard people came to me very emotional on the documentary. People came to me for counseling. There were tons of women abused. And then afterwards, when Nosweek called him, and we will play that video clip, when Nosweek called him to end the CRL Commission when they were giving their witnessing and stuff like that, he said, no, I only knew about one. Her name is Amanda, and we will talk about Amanda later on. So the stories, you have to be very careful when you read news reports, and you have to compare apples with apples, not with pears.
No, absolutely.
So your question,
Okay.
sorry, your question was the KwaSizabantu story unethical?
Unethical.
Again,
Yeah, I think you
yes,
answered my question. I think you answered my
but
question.
I want to be clear. My opinion doesn't count. In the book, I give evidence. That's important. Evidence is all. I give context. I follow the ethical principles. And I asked the question on the front cover, was the News 24 coverage of the KwaSizabantu story an expose for which they were awarded, by the way, sadly, or was it sensationalism? You decide, but get your facts before you decide. Don't believe everything that you read.
Absolutely. I must tell you, I've started to read your book. And the one thing, and I will really recommend it, that people can see what's really going on. And this is only one case. I'm quite sure there's a lot of them. And I mean, and we're going to get to hopefully the majority of them as we, carry on with the series. But your due diligence in this book is extraordinary. I decided I'm going to first read the book, and then I'm going to go back, because you've got so many footnotes. You've got so many links to articles,
Absolutely.
I mean, all the evidence are there. It's going to take you a while. I mean, so this is maybe something that you can do on your holiday or so on, but this is not comfortable reading. I must tell you this. I mean, but
they can watch the videos.
Yeah, but
sorry to interrupt. The Nosweek videos they can watch as well.
I did. And I was totally appalled about what was going on. And then I started reading your book, and, you can see my emotions on my face. And my daughter actually walked in on me last night, and she said to me, she looked at my face and she said to me, I think you should take a break and maybe watch a crime series just to relax.
A crime series of all things.
Yes, so I just couldn't believe, what I was reading. And for me, I don't see any balance in the news reportings. I mean,
absolutely.
I haven't been to KwaZizabantu yet, and I hope to do that soon, because when I start doing my research, I just saw the excellent work they do in the community. I mean, especially caring for families and children. And normally when you think about a missionary, you think about people begging for money. And what is so absolutely extraordinary for me with KwaZizabantu is it's basically, let's take the mission side out, which is obviously the reason why they're there. But just take that out. They're one of the biggest corporate enterprises in our country. Only one.
Absolutely.
I mean, Equilay Water is only one of their enterprises. I mean, they export, I think, avos and green peppers. And I think most probably when I saw the clip of where they pack the green peppers, and I thought, my goodness, I'm quite sure I've bought, some of that already.
Yeah,
I recognize
we
the
all
way
did.
they package it
Yeah.
and the packaging and everything. So it's massive enterprises. And they also job creation, which is so needed in our country today. And then obviously with everything that's going around in our world, I mean, I work with the youth also on a daily basis, and I know the challenges and so on. So they also give care, and as you say, it's absolutely free of charge. So I just want to know, why is those stories and the incredible enterprise it is, apart from the mission, why isn't that celebrated and published in the media?
Because it's not sensation.
No, maybe.
It's not sensation. Most of the mainstream media, they focus on sensation because we became a sensation-hungry news consumer, unfortunately. And Facebook and all those things have got
True.
lots and lots to do. But you said you've read, and it was only over the last 3-4 years that Devoted started to tell their stories and share their stories with wonderful alternative and Christian publications like Joy and Jeugd. They also started to publish the stories. Gateway News is a wonderful, another alternative media that SA the Good News, the Good Things Guy. There are alternative medias, and I really hope people will support those media houses more, because we need more positive stories. You forgot to mention there's SIPSA program. SIPSA program started because of the youth conference that we talked about. SIPSA is Concerned Young People for South Africa, also started at KwaSizabantu. And what they've realized a few years back is the high problem of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, all sorts of abuse, computer abuse, social media abuse, all those sort of things. And over the years, KwaSizabantu has taken more than 20,000 broken people, took them from the street, got young children from graveyards where they slept, druggies, and took them through the program and restored their lives. Those are wonderful stories. I love a good story. That's why I started to write about it and Devoted. We only share inspiring stories, but we also expose and talk about social ills like unethical journalism. But you can stay there for a week, Janet, and I'm glad to hear that you want to go there. By the way, it's open. You just pick up the phone, make an appointment, and they will receive you with open arms. It's not a cult. They will not keep you there. There's not even a gate or that's locked or whatever behind you. I mean, there's a coffee house. The public visit the coffee house. There's a shop which Erlo Stevens started because it's in Kranskop. KwaSizabantu is situated in Kranskop. So it's far from, he realized that some of the women had to, take a taxi to buy basic grocery stuff. So they started a shop there, which, by the way, is cheap. I buy my grandchildren's school stuff there, pens or whatever, because it's so cheap there for the community. So it's open. You can go to the shop. You can go to the coffee shop. You can come and go as you want. Nobody can be held captive there without other people knowing that. So I would really, really encourage you to go there. And anybody else who's interested and want to find the truth, pick up the phone, go to KwaSizabantu and see for yourself. Don't believe me or you or News 24, especially not mainstream media.
Okay, back on News 24. Did they actually verify the credibility of the informants? We all know how important that is, in news sources, that, they should be credible. You can't just publish lies.
Absolutely, that's the most important thing. They claimed they did a seven-month investigation. Remember, it was COVID time during that time.
Okay, but
They
how did
made
they
an
then do
appointment.
the investigation? Sorry, I'm
That is
interrupting you
a
here
good question.
because we were on
Exactly, the
lockdown.
documentary. Exactly, during
Okay.
lockdown. Exactly, that was my first concern when I saw that. 7 months, and that was, remember, they launched the campaign in September 2020. Okay, and lockdown. It was serious COVID issues before the time. So during that time, they have worked on the documentary. That's what the first thing that they've launched. And they also claimed that they had 6 affidavits. Now, Newsweek and the independent panel that I talked about who exonerated the mission seriously questioned the affidavit. An affidavit, there's certain rules for an affidavit. Firstly, it must be done willingly. The moment you pay somebody for an affidavit, it's a red flag.
No, you can't do that.
One of the affidavits was paid for. So there are so many things that we will zoom into. So to answer your question, I did not find credibility with regards to most of the informants. 2 are currently serving a prison sentence. I will not take any information from them. And others had issues with KwaSizabantu, axe to grinds. Most of the informants left KwaSizabantu over 30 and 40 years ago. Really? You know how KwaSizabantu has changed in 30, 40 years?
I can imagine.
KwaSizabantu is the only sustainable mission of this size that I know of. And I've been to many.
No, it's absolutely, I mean, the work they do there, that just what I can see. And my logic, because I'm a businesswoman as well. I mean, I've got so much respect.
A good one, by the way.
Thank you for the, you know, for the enterprises. And the whole idea behind everything is to take care of the people around you, you know. So, but okay, in everything that we spoke about up to now is allegations. Okay, so allegations remain allegations until evidence is proved or someone is convicted in the court of law or anything. Is there any evidence that was provided, you know, about these are facts that was court of law? I don't know, you know.
None at all. And I call some of the informants, I call them conspirators, because remember Newsweek said that they conspired, they wanted to take over the mission, they wanted to get rid of certain people there who were in their way. So they lodged complaints to SARS, to name them. They've tried all the avenues, including Hawks. And it's been 4 or 5 years. There's absolutely no evidence.
So which
no
one?
evidence was no evidence were also published in the newspapers. Newsweek said, and I have to agree, I can't disagree with him. Newsweek said that they based an entire media campaign upon lies, upon he said, she said, stories, allegations. We will talk about the main informant who was offered R1 million later on. But she, for instance, was out on bail at the time for another crime. She's a repeat criminal. It's not only one crime and then it's over and done with. And by the way, she left KwaSizabantu because they discovered that she stole 800,000 rand from them.
Wow.
So all those things are serious red flags when you're a good news reporter. That's a difference. A good ethical news reporter as opposed to one that just want to get a sensationalized story out and to use all those fancy emotive words and stuff.
Okay, so it seems to me it's all the elements of a witch hunt is all in there, but we will continue in the next episode. So from my side, thank you, Gerda, and that's it for this discussion in our series aimed at debunking unethical journalism. We mentioned the importance of credible news informants, and next time we will shine a spotlight on the informants. It's going to be interesting. Those who took the KwaSizabantu stories to the press, and not if it was that serious, in my opinion. you know, the legal route. But that's for next time. Thank you, Gerda, and see you guys again.
Thank you. Thank you. See you next time. Looking forward.
Thank you.